Hey everybody, welcome to No Place Like Home, a North and South podcast where we talk about the power and magic of homemaking. I'm Mike and this is Megan sitting right next to me. We are the parents of 9 children and been married going on 26 years, and we love talking about families and everything that has to do with families, and that's what this podcast is really all about. So thanks for coming along and being here with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Let's talk a little about what's happening right now.
On the home front?
At the home front with the Norp household?
Well, it was an incredible day. If you were here with us last time, it was really, really cold.
Yeah, the weather turned for us.
Yeah, it was in the 70s today. So
Nice.
I had this crazy skip in my step. The kids kept asking me what I was doing. I'm like, I'm dancing. I don't know. I'm happy.
The weather calls
what are you
for
doing?
It was nice. It was sunny. It was
very-
great. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so that does make the spring come a little sooner. The winter's
Yes,
a
it
little
does.
less harsh.
Yes, it does. So I was really happy, especially because tomorrow we're actually driving north.
We are headed up north a little bit.
For a pretty big deal. We have been talking here on the channel about how in 2026 we'll be moving.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a rental right now. We had a fixer-upper. We sold it and traveled for a little bit in our RV for, I think it was 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And then we ended up in this house, and now we are ready to, we're getting ready to buy.
Yeah.
And there's a house I've been looking at for 5 months. It's been listed for 5 months.
Yes.
And we're finally going to go look at it tomorrow.
Did we say where it was? It's in Virginia.
It's in Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley.
This is where we are trying to go. This is our goal and our dream.
Yeah, we've talked
Crazy.
about going to see it for a while, but it wasn't the right time. And I am actually kind of nervous because, and the kids are like, why are you nervous? And it's like, because everything is easier in pretend world. So when I just look at the photos, I can tell whatever story I want about this house. And going to look at it tomorrow, there's going to be 2 outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Either I walk in and I'm like, ooh, sick, no way. It's an 1890s farmhouse.
Yeah, and it is a fixer-upper.
Now, farmhouse style, maybe, but it's not on a farm. It's in a town. I either get to walk in and be like, this was a waste of a drive, and this is gross, or it smells, or whatever. It's definitely going to smell because nobody lives in it yet. It's old. Or which equally scary, actually, because it's the only house I'm interested in the whole dang Shenandoah Valley. Currently. Or I walk in and I actually think this is a great house. Mm-hmm. Then what? It's kind of scary.
Because we're not actually quite ready to move yet, but we just feel like we need to go look at it.
It's been
put it
so
to rest.
long. Yeah. So we actually will share that in the next vlog, because I know if you're like me, you love house tours and empty house tours and real estate and homes. And so come back for our next video that's not a podcast, and we'll walk through that house with you.
And if you're just listening on the podcast, this is also a YouTube video. So if you want to go to YouTube, you can watch it there on our North and South channel. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's here. And also, if you're listening on the podcast, wherever you're listening to, if you would, leave us a review.
That'd be great.
It's been a while since we've asked for that, but it would be nice to ask for new reviews, especially if they're good ones.
They are really nice reviews. We read them, and we're very touched.
Yeah, so if you haven't yet, go on, review us, and give us a 5-star review, and say lots of nice things, even if they're not true. Anyways, just a little plug to go do that. Or the video.
Yeah.
Share it with your friends, those who might find this information useful.
So that's what we're going to do. And I've definitely gotten, as the hour draws nigh, I feel more and more nervous. Oh, okay, here we go. It's also a long drive.
We can hear you tapping the table
I
now.
know, you guys. I have a problem, and if you listen to the last podcast, you might have wondered, what is that noise? It's me going like this. I'm emphasizing with my hands. I didn't realize I'm that kind of person.
We have a table in front of us.
I'm not wearing my watch. I might have to take off my wedding ring because I'm hitting the table so much. So I'm going to try not to do that.
Yeah, we're trying to muffle it, but
we've tried a lot of things, but
we're doing our best.
It really just comes down to me and my behavior.
It's true.
I need to change.
It's your fault.
So speaking of reviews, last time we talked about a comment we got from Ashley, and I'm really, really happy that we were able to talk about that last time. This time, literally 10 minutes ago, I went back to the video from the beginning of this year, so we call it season 2.
Yeah.
of this podcast, and I read the reviews the comments on YouTube.
On that video, yeah.
Man, YouTube is a strange job. I don't know if there's many other jobs in the world where people can immediately comment on you, on your makeup, like
on how you live your life,
and
any
the
number
way you
of things.
breathe, and like everything. So immediately, and it comes right to you, right? Because there's probably, newspapers with movie reviews and stuff. But like when we started our YouTube channel like 10 years ago, I was really caught off guard by that. Like how much it got in there and how quickly it got to me. And I would watch like Fixer Upper with Chip and Joanna Gaines and be like, they would say something. I'm like, oh man, if they said that on YouTube, they would get so many comments, so much hate about that. And I was like, man, TV, what a gig. You can just like not know how people feel about things, as much. Like I still think about like, these are the weird things that get in there and you try not to, but I think almost every time I put on my lipstick, which is pretty much every day of my life, I think about a comment that said, your lipstick doesn't go to the edges of your lips.
Oh, my word. And that was how many years ago, probably?
Years.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man. But, sometimes they're mean, but sometimes they're helpful because I think like 6 months ago, somebody said something about my makeup being wrong because it didn't match my neck. And I was like, oh, I guess I need to put makeup on my neck because I'm not a big makeup girl, but I wear makeup.
These are all me, by the way. These are burner accounts that I have.
But then I was doing my makeup and eventually, literally only a month ago, I finally asked ChatGPT about it because I was going to get more, because I just wear like a tinted lotion for my face. That's the only thing I wear. And so I was caught off guard. And Chat's like, no, you're supposed to match the tinted lotion to your neck and not to your face. And I'm like, how did I get to 46-year-old woman and not know that I was supposed to be doing that? And that's what
there may be some people watching who don't know that either. But
well, I didn't know that. And I texted my sister and she's
like,
this
is a public service announcement.
She's like, yeah, you're supposed to do that. And I went downstairs to Pearl's room. I'm like, do you know? She was like, yeah, you're supposed to do that. I was like, well, I didn't know that. Okay.
Everybody knew it.
I didn't know you were supposed to do that. And so that person that made that comment last year, I've solved the problem. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
I now don't have quite, it's still a little bit.
Let's see. Can I see? We have one on the TV over here.
Yeah. My neck is very pale.
It looks amazing.
Wow. Thank you.
It really does. I do tell Megan she looks really good on camera.
Oh, well, thank you for
thinking
so.
Megan,
you maybe should marry me or something.
I'll think about it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
Okay. We'll get to the comment.
Okay. So speaking of comments, so I went back to the first episode of this podcast this year, or these videos we're doing, and I didn't realize that we didn't really read the comments.
Yeah, when we make a video that is a little bit controversial, we tend to shy away from reading the comments.
Just for at least for a few days.
I'm a little too sensitive.
Yeah, we are sensitive.
I hate to say it. I haven't grown much of a thick skin since we started this.
We definitely have a thicker skin.
I probably should, though.
Yeah. But I knew that they were
mean
ones, because, or not necessarily mean, but I knew there was a lot going on in them because somebody messaged me and was like, I know a lot of people are saying this, but I'm actually excited for you to do it.
Which is a nice thing to say.
And I was like, oh, what are people saying? Like, good thing I'm not reading. Because it actually was a very vulnerable thing for us to post that we were going to do this.
Yeah.
Well, things have changed. I went and read them. It is true. Like the top comments.
And there's a reason we're doing this, by the way. I mean,
this isn't just like reading mean tweets.
We're not just airing our grievances right now.
But we got a lot of comments saying they don't agree
with what we're doing right now at this moment.
So a lot of people kind of doing like a nicer, but also like, I'm out, It's been great watching you for the last 10 years. I personally don't have any interest in your pivot. Best of luck to you, period.
Right.
That got 119 likes. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Mike has not heard these yet. This is
I'm just hearing this right now. I'm kind
of uncomfortable.
I'm gonna have to stop the podcast right now and try to recover.
So this one said, and they edited it, so I know that they meant it.
Because they went through and edited it.
They made sure.
They made changes.
They didn't just and then leave.
Made sure it was clear.
But she said, lesson on how to kill a successful channel. I've been a viewer for years, but have zero desire to listen to you talk about how to have a happy marriage and raise kids. Been married for 38 years. Think I've gotten the hang of it already. Period. Seems like another idea of Megan's you will not follow through with.
Wow.
Yikes.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah. I don't know how many likes that one got because it didn't print the bottom of it.
Oh my goodness. Well, we don't need to go through all these, Megan.
Yeah. Just people saying they're not interested, you know?
Yeah, which
And
you
they're out.
certainly have a right to say and to feel.
Yeah. And so I thought actually, though, I actually did go read I'm like a little sweaty on my upper lip right now, but a little weak in the knees.
If you watch this on video, you can see the glistening on Megan's upper lip.
Yeah. So head over to YouTube now.
We're both like sweating. It's like that Key and Peele skit.
Or Airplane. So I guess the question is, I love the way she started that lesson on how to kill a successful channel. I think all along, Mike and I have had many, many times on the channel where we could see that there were certain things people wanted us to be or to do. Mm-hmm. And we knew that if we kept doing those things, we would be more successful on YouTube.
Or we guessed that we would.
We guessed that we would. Yeah, I mean, you never can tell.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a tough thing to get right.
But one of those things was, remember, after our first year on YouTube, we were getting really, really, really high views. Uh-huh. And we were just getting like ridiculous numbers of new subscribers all of the time.
Are you trying to make me feel bad right now? Or just
yes,
like...
because we were living in an RV with 11 people.
Yeah, it was.
So it was
compelling.
like a freak show.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my gosh. And I get it. But at the end of that year, we no longer wanted to live in an RV with 11 people. We had such a great time in the RV. We were so grateful for that year, but we felt ready to do something else.
Right.
And felt led to do something else. And so so when cat_astrophy_65 says lesson on how to kill a successful channel, we've actually done this many times over.
We've done it many times, which is why
so that was our first lesson because we
mildly successful.
Yeah, we decided to move out of the RV and go live in Europe. We shipped a big 12-passenger, or is it a 15-passenger?
It was 12.
Yeah, over to Europe, and we lived there for almost a year, staying to Airbnbs the whole time. And that's
interesting too.
Yeah, it is interesting, but we weren't doing it for YouTube.
Yeah.
We were grateful to share it. It's actually a very happy thing to have to organize yourself enough to record your life and make it into little shows. Mm-hmm. It's a blessing to do it. It's a lot of work, but it is very gratifying. And so we took people along, but a lot of people said not interested.
Right, that's true. We did have that happen at the time.
And then at the end of that year, we were interested in being done with full-time travel. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But because our channel had been for 2 years, a travel channel, mm-hmm. people were not interested in watching. A lot of those people were not interested in watching us just like live in a house.
Right, right.
And they didn't even know that like I liked cooking or home decorating or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
And so we've done that actually multiple times over. And the reason I'm saying that is not that like, I'm not trying to point out that we're stupid about YouTube.
Even though we are.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's that we're stupid about YouTube. I think we're actually living our life.
Yeah.
And we're so grateful to be able to share it. I'm not trying to act ungrateful or frustrated. I just think that when we come to crossroads, and we knew that like if we had just stayed in the RV, and interestingly, people that we knew then are still doing it, and they are happy to be doing so, and they are still on YouTube and probably more successful on YouTube than us.
Yeah, for sure.
But we weren't living in an RV because it was good TV.
Right. We hadn't actually decided to do that for any YouTube channel.
No, we really wanted to have that experience as a family, and it was a huge blessing to us.
Right. For
many reasons, and maybe we should talk about that on here sometime. So when it comes to the pivot we made, last January.
Mm-hmm. As in last month.
Yes, you're right. and telling people that we wanted to do more videos of talking and podcast style videos. It was once again because of something we wanted to do and felt compelled to do.
Right.
And I thought we could talk about that a little bit more and explain a little bit more on why and what we're hoping. And I think we talked about it a little bit, but a lot of the comments I saw were like, I don't need you to tell me. I just want you to show me. Right. And I am totally aware of that, and we still are showing. I mean, I think right now we're averaging about every other video is a showing video. And if anything, I think we've posted more vlogs this
than we
year than
typically
we
do.
were before.
That's a funny thing.
Well, I think we had come to
man.
a point where we were no longer feeling that vlogging just like that we didn't really understand the plot anymore and why we were doing it. We'd been doing it for a long time. I guess the question is, why did we want to talk more, tell more? I think, first of all, last year I got breast cancer. And that helped us. I think anytime you have something like that happen, you're going to naturally, one of the consequences is you're going to take stock of your life, what is working, what is not working, what is missing, if you realize I am vulnerable, I am not immortal. There are no guarantees on how long I've got, and I might, get it again. So what?
Or something else might get you.
Yeah, something else.
just don't know.
I mean,
It
something
will.
else will get you.
Eventually. Yeah.
So I think you do feel a little bit more urgency to make sure that you're living the way that you want to live. And thankfully, I am in many, many ways, if not most ways. And I think also when I have to be honest, and I think in saying this is going to be slightly controversial, when Charlie Kirk was murdered last September, it was September, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was very disturbing to us and to many people. Probably more than half the country of the United States was very disturbed by that. And one of the things that came out in the few days after his death is that he just wanted to help families. And I remember that just really hit me because I thought, me too.
Right.
Me too. And I haven't done it because I'm scared.
Yeah, in the way that you would kind of like to be doing it.
Yeah. And he was willing to put himself in danger and ultimately gave his life. And for his ultimate goal was to help families. I hesitate to mention Charlie Kirk because I don't want anybody to get bogged down by that.
But they're going to. So.
Yeah, I know. But it's an example of somebody who had something they wanted to share and was willing to do so no matter the consequences.
Right.
And
even though it wasn't the safe thing to do and it wasn't the popular thing to do a lot of times. So
yeah. And obviously he was hated for it.
Yeah, definitely.
And he was willing to be hated for it. And he also was willing, he knew that it was very dangerous what he was doing. And I think both you and I were affected by that.
We felt a little convicted, I think, kind of like, why are we kind of quiet on some of the things we are always talking about and some of the things that we feel very strongly about, but don't ever outright say.
Yeah.
Because you feel a little scared to do so. You're not sure how to be received. And also it did sometimes feel like, well, that sort of doesn't go with what we're doing on the channel to suddenly like start talking about stuff.
And we know it's the lesson on how to kill a successful channel. So that happened. It just grew and grew and grew and grew.
Well, yes. And then also we can observe the world around us and we can see that in many ways families are struggling. Parents are struggling. Husbands and wives are struggling. Like I don't think anyone's going to argue that things are going great for families.
Well, we're not even at replacement rate in the United States.
Right. Like we're not.
We're shrinking.
Population
is shrinking even in the United States and I think every other developed country, the population is shrinking, which means families are struggling. That's what it means.
Right. That's a result of that. And so we thought, man, I feel like we have something that we could offer to help families and we want to do that. So
and so there was a lot of also comments in here about like people saying they don't want to be preached to. And I understand that. I get really tired of that too. But I don't think that our hope was that we would be preaching as much as we would be uplifting. I know as a mom that there have been so many times when I have felt so alone in making decisions, in choosing to do certain things or choosing not to do certain things, and how I'm always have this desire for a community,
right? For
other women to say, yes, I feel that way too, and keep going, Mom. And you're doing the right thing, even though you feel like you're not, because you can't look around and find anybody else who's doing this. And I wanted to be the future mom. Like I wanted to be able to talk back to old me.
Yeah. So this is something we talk about all the time. I don't know if it's worth going into in real detail, but essentially we sometimes wish you could talk to, and I think we all think this, I wish I could talk to my past self and
what
say,
would I say?
And teach them some lessons maybe, or tell them it's going to be okay. Just keep on, keep on going.
Yeah.
And we are at sort of the other side of a lot of parenting issues, or, like we've gotten past a lot of that. So you do have an urge to turn around and pass along what you learned
to like nurture
others.
The younger mothers and the women who feel lonely and confused. So I guess for some people that will feel like preaching, but I hope for some of you it feels like nurture. It feels like love. It feels like help and guidance, and it feels like uplifting and soothing, all of those things. And I think we've talked about it on here before, but I have something I call Future Girl. Have I talked about it on here?
I don't know.
Well,
we did. It was so long ago. I don't remember. So I doubt anyone else remembers.
Years ago, I was pregnant, and I was so happy. And it was at a time in our life where the pregnancy felt like a real gift. I had Elijah and Andrew. And just this pregnancy was just a really special one. It felt really special to me. And I think I have talked about it on a video, maybe not on the podcast. In fact, I felt that baby move really, really early. That was my third pregnancy, and like I was feeling the baby move at like 14 weeks. And it was the only time I felt, and I'd heard other women talk about this, but like really connected with the child in my womb.
Right.
Like, I remember one time pulling into the driveway, and I put the car in park, and I just all of a sudden I could like almost like feel my baby with me, and just like this overwhelming love from between me and my baby. Well, at 20 weeks, we went in for an ultrasound and found out that our little baby girl had died the day before.
Heartbeat, yeah.
Yeah, I was devastated. Obviously, devastated. I didn't have a lot of place to make sense of what had just happened. I was, did I just lose my child? And maybe that sounds silly, like, well, yes, of course you did. But like, I don't know. It was really hard to process. Yeah. And 3 months later, I got pregnant again. And I think that I really do think, I know that I thought maybe that body didn't work out, but that baby was going to come right back to me in this next pregnancy. Whatever baby that was, that the body just didn't work. And that spirit, that soul would come to me again in this next pregnancy. And like I said, it was a little girl, and I got pregnant, and I was very emotional and very broken through those few months of that pregnancy. And then we went in for our first ultrasound, which was obviously nerve-wracking, and it was a little boy. It was Peter. And I was like, oh, she didn't come back. Maybe later, maybe another pregnancy, because it was really hard to deal with the loss. So I had been pregnant for 5 months. 3 months later, got pregnant with Peter, went through that pregnancy, which was a very difficult pregnancy, obviously, for all of the reasons I just mentioned. And then when Peter was 3 months old, I accidentally got pregnant again. And once again thought, oh, well, maybe here's our baby girl coming back. And that pregnancy was high risk because of medical things from my past. And then we went to our first ultrasound, and it was a boy. It was little Asher. So by the end of that, I had been pregnant for 2.5 years, pretty much, with those little short few months in between. And that's a really long time to be pregnant. and it had been a heavy toll on my body. And then I had 2 babies. Yeah. Peter and Asher were closer than a year. So every year for 1 week, Peter and Asher are the same age. They're my little Irish twins. And so here I was one day in my apartment, or our townhouse. Right. And I was desperate for a shower. And I think Asher was about a week old. I had Peter, he was still a baby. He wasn't walking. And I put him I think I put Asher in one of those little slingy seats.
In the shower?
In the bathroom.
Outside of
outside the shower. And I think I put Peter I don't know, just standing in the bathroom. I don't remember what I did. Maybe I brought him in, but Peter started to cry. And so I brought him in the shower with me, which if you've ever tried to shower with a naked baby, it's like the slipperiest, hardest thing to do. So I'm holding Peter, and I'm ah. And then Asher started to cry, and I didn't know what to do. I was panicking because I'm I just need a shower. I just want to take a shower. It's been days. So I grabbed Asher, and so then I'm literally holding 2 slippery babies in the shower, and they're crying. And I started crying. Mm-hmm. And I'm I can't do this. Yeah. I can't do this. In that moment, what a blessing it was. And I believe it was divinely directed. I had the thought, if your future self came to you right now, what would she say? Your future girl. And I thought, oh gosh, what would she say? And then I thought, well, the first thing she would say is, oh my gosh, I forgot how hard that time was. And then she would say like, oh my, I'm so sorry. I forgot. It's really hard. But so I really thought she would acknowledge that it was really hard. And then she would say, but it gets so much better. Right now, it seems crazy to have 2 babies at once, but they're going to be best friends and they're going to be such a blessing to you. And you're going to lose all the baby weight after being pregnant for 2.5 years. And your hormones are going to come down and like everything's going to be okay. And you're going to be really happy. And I found so much, it was such a blessing to have future me consoling me. And I, from that time on, really did that as like a mental practice every once in a while of like, what would future girl say about this situation? And it would like align my thoughts. It would give me hope. It would help me see past where I was at in that moment.
Give you some perspective.
Yes. Well, then a few years later, I was like driving down the road and I remember exactly where I was at. And it came to me, just popped into my mind all of a sudden. And I thought, hey, remember all of those things you said to yourself in the shower from the future? Well, all of them have happened. You're there. So I think you should probably go tell her those things right now.
This is like a time-space continuum
it was.
Thing. You're actually traveling in
But
time.
I was like so happy. It's like, don't forget, you dreamed of being where you're at right now. And so I actually did that. I actually imagined myself going back like through my little portal to me in the shower and saying all of those things. And that felt really good.
Yeah.
All of that to say is I feel like for some of you, I'm future girl in reality. And I know how desperately I needed a mom in the future, a woman in the future, a friend in the future to say, hey, you're doing great. It's really hard what you're doing, but it's worth it. It's all going to work out. And many, many happy times are ahead. And so I think we both feel that way.
Yeah, for sure.
We feel that way. Being parents and so many of the choices that we made which were very difficult. And we had so much negative feedback about. We were like, in some ways, like last week when we talked about, or the couple weeks ago when we talked about the 3 little pigs and how the one who's building the brick house gets a lot of negative feedback about.
Yes, we know that because it's happened to us. That's
so we had that.
Talk from experience.
Yeah, and like how desperately.
And we still do, actually.
Yeah, so. When we chose to homeschool, I was terrified, just terrified. And so were you.
Yeah. Oh, me more than you.
For years, we were terrified. And I can't tell you what a lifeline it was when an older homeschooling mom would tell me how great her kids were doing and how grateful she was that she chose that.
Right, yeah.
Oh, that was such a blessing to me. And a million other things like that. And so I want to return the favor. I want to be that for others, especially when so many people are struggling to have the desire to be parents because of all of these fears and because of all of the troubles. And also, those of you who are trying to be really good parents can feel very lonely, can feel very confused, can feel very scared. And I want to help you feel happy. I want to ease your burdens, lighten your burdens, and tell you that you're doing a great job and to keep going and that there's happiness ahead. So, though I get those negative comments, and though it probably will hurt our channel.
No, and I think it has.
Yeah.
We have fewer views and not a lot of views on this, but we weren't doing it for the money.
Yeah.
And we do hope that we do help a lot of people. The more people, the better. But we weren't doing it for the views.
I want to help. We want to help families.
Yeah.
We want to help parents. We want to help families be happy and feel the joy that we feel. And anything we can do to be a part of that, we're here for it. It was terrifying, that video. Like, we didn't go read the comments, and you might be kind of offended. Like, why am I making comments if you don't even read them? I was a wreck this week when I made this when we announced this. I was a wreck. I don't think you guys understand. Like, it's very vulnerable to tell people that you're going to make a change, and then it's kind of like you open the floodgates to have everybody's input on what they think about that change, and that's heavy.
Well, and they oftentimes comment on your own fears, or they
they
push
say the
on
very
that.
thing you're the most scared of.
So it's interesting how effective some of those negative comments can be. But obviously, there are also a lot of really nice comments and very
so
support.
many.
And again, we don't do it for the comments, and it's not like we're trying to please a certain group of people. We're people, so you're naturally affected by it. So
well, I guess we are though. We really do appreciate so much. Like, I can't tell you that I don't think there are, outside of our family and our faith, nothing has been more gratifying to me. Nothing has felt like more a privilege. Nothing is more of a dream to me than when one of you says that we have helped your family.
Yeah.
Like, we've helped you as couples, we've helped you as parents, we've helped you, just your family is happier. I am so touched that you guys watch us together as families. I am so touched that you listen and you participate in that way, and it helps you. When people talk about their dream job, that's our dream job.
Right.
This is our dream job.
Yeah, this is it.
So when you say don't do this, it's like, well, you're telling us not to go after our dream job. This is what we want to do. This is what we want our life to be all about. And as we also are in a transition period. You can't help it when kids are leaving every 10 minutes, it feels like, to grow up. And you can feel on the horizon, you're counting down the years. You know how quickly years go. You're like, oh my goodness, we are quickly approaching, what is that, like, event horizon?
Yeah.
Where we don't have very many kids at home. And we find so much meaning and purpose in our full-time parenting that we do right now. But that's going to go away. And so we've asked ourselves many times over the last few years, well, what are we going to do when we have more time? And this is what we want to do. We want to help the next families. We want to help you build your brick homes.
Yeah.
So
and it may not be like this. I think someone said, I've been married 38 years. I don't need this. That's maybe true. You maybe don't. And that's fine. We do hope that if you're listening or watching, that hopefully it's helpful to you. And if you know a young family or a young couple or someone who's in the earlier phases of their marriage or their family, that you'll point them in our direction, because that is essentially who we're talking to and hoping to help. So
that's what our dream is.
Yeah.
We also discussed, like, what if nobody, I shouldn't say nobody wants to listen. I'm grateful that all of you are listening and letting us know what's helping and what you would like help with as, families and individuals. But we're like, what if it's never more than, this number of people? And it was like, well, it'll be worth it.
You help that many.
Absolutely. It'll be worth it. Andrew asked the same thing. He's like, so, what if it's just this? And I'm like, I think it's worth it. He's like, I do too.
Andrew approved. Andrew's our son, by the way, in case there's someone who doesn't know who that is.
Very thoughtful son. So that's why we do it. And you're helping us have our dream job when you come and you listen, and we get to help you have a healthier, happier family and build your brick home so that your families are safe and secure inside of them. So anything we can do, just like Future Girl, we'd love to do it. I think that brings us to today's topic.
Finally, we made it.
Yeah, we made it.
Yay.
A couple of weeks ago, I had a friend over who is my friend and Pearl's friend. And she comes over once a week, and we paint or draw together. So we're
very artsy.
Art buddies.
Yep.
And she's exactly in between mine and Pearl's age.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel old. No, wise. It makes me feel wise. Mm-hmm. But it's funny to see what she talks to Pearl about and what she talks to me about. She definitely talks to me about some of these things that we talk about here on this podcast. A couple of weeks ago when she was here, she was bringing up something that had to do with one of her kids that had happened, where he needed some, parenting. And she had disciplined him in a certain way. She had prayed. Well, first she had been very slow to respond. She'd prayed about it, felt compelled and led to do something, and then she responded in this way. And she was like, I'm just so nervous that I didn't handle it right. And I think I talked to her about that, but I think that's such a common feeling. And as we already mentioned, something we felt constantly.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's still feel.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like, did we do that right?
Yeah. But I think you were reading this week and saw that that's...
I mean, that is a major issue with families, especially newer families, is this idea of A, am I doing it right? B, am I screwing my kids up? And the kind of feeling like I can't do it right. So I'm like...
It's paralyzing.
Yeah, I'm afraid to move forward
Yeah.
with my parenting. And so that seems like an issue.
It's a major issue for young moms and dads. And I think it's another thing to blame on social media. I mean, we could blame a lot of things on social media.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one of them. But I remember feeling it even when I don't know if it was with Elijah or Andrew, I was like glued to the book, What to Expect when you're expecting. Mm-hmm. And then I got the book, like What to Expect, like with your baby or something like that. And so, because the internet was still kind of old then, because this was, in the early 2000s.
You mean new?
Yes. Sorry. I was going to say like old fashioned. It didn't like have a lot on there.
Right. Old fashioned by today's standards.
There was no Google.
Yeah,
I don't think there was Google. I don't remember.
Maybe. I don't know.
There was probably a search engine, but what was that? Ask Jeeves? But I was poring over this book, and I'm like, each week, I'm like, is he doing that? He's supposed to be doing that this week, and he's supposed to be doing that. And I realized at some point, like, I don't think this is helping. Like, I am so burdened by what he's supposed to be doing and what like milestones should be happening and what, all of these things that I was like, this is paralyzing for me. And I'm obsessing over it. I think I need to get rid of this book. So I did. I got rid of it and I never looked at it again. And I was like, this isn't like, moms used to just like raise their babies, and like you just like let the milestones happen when they happen. And if there's problems, you notice. And so I got rid of the book, and I think that's a book. But now, like the crazy things that you hear in reels on all of these different platforms. And so I think that's in part why some of these people were negatively commenting on us talking. They're like, oh my gosh, do I need another person preaching to me and telling me what I'm doing wrong, or telling me how to live my life? And I get it. There's a lot of preaching on the internet, but it can be so paralyzing. Like all the lists of like 10 things you should never say to your child, and like, articles that are like, the hidden dangers of ...
Yeah.
And also just that like, there's so much bad information.
Especially on social media. There's just a lot of really bad information out there.
Really bad information. So. And it's so hard to sort through it because people speak so passionately about their opinions, but
so do we.
Yeah, I know. But you don't know anything about their lives, So we actually have a little metaphor that we talk about a lot between the two of us, and are kind of working on a book about this metaphor. But
yeah, it's sort of a guiding principle for us. And the reason we want to share it is because instead of it being sort of a list of things of do's and don'ts, it's kind of a way of seeing
a framework.
Your job as a parent and your family. And so it's not so granular. It's more of an overarching theme that really makes it, I think, simpler.
Yeah.
To raise children.
And that is that it's a metaphor. Think of a gardener who has this. It's not a huge garden. It's not a farm. It's a garden to tend to. Things that are important for the gardener to do and to not do. For us, this framework really helps us understand what our roles are and how to make sure that we are
helping our little seeds grow. Because in this thought process, we are the gardener, you and I, and our children are the seeds or the plants growing. Yeah. And the goal is to help them grow to their ultimate fruition or whatever they can become.
Fruition?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Garden. And so how do we do that?
Yeah.
In this kind of framework.
Yeah, and like all metaphors, if you take them too far, it gets weird and stuff. Like my kids aren't plants and I'm the gardener. We're actually both gardeners. Mm-hmm. But so don't lean too heavily on it. But it does help you understand some of the basics of what you're doing, and I also feel like it alleviates a lot of pressure.
Right. Yeah.
And so the first thing I think to understand, especially for young parents, is the first few years in a garden, first few seasons in a garden are the hardest.
Yeah, when it's a new garden that's sort of hasn't been cultivated yet much.
Yeah, it's when you are working really hard on the soil to amend the soil because you're just starting from scratch. That's where in the first few years of a garden, you're going to learn a lot more about the climate that you live in.
Right.
Some of the problems with where you chose to put your garden. You're going to learn how secure your fences are at keeping out bunny rabbits and deer.
Right.
And so those first few years of gardening, you feel like you don't know anything.
Right.
It's just constant problems.
And there are things that do catch you off guard on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah. And that is the same with young parenting. I had a friend once reach out to me and she was like, I think I'm broken. I never knew that I was such a rage-filled person.
Yes.
And I laughed then as I'm laughing now. And it's like, oh, no. You're moving from the solo life as a teenager, young adult, into a parent, and where you aren't in control all of the time, and you have somebody who is pushing on that.
Yeah.
And you will realize how difficult that is.
Yeah.
And you will feel a lot of anger. And you might even take it out on your kids at first.
Yeah.
You'll be like, wow, I've got problems. I thought I was a nice person. Mm-hmm. And I am not. I am not a nice person, So I laughed, and because I remembered going through the same thing where I didn't know how angry I would feel when a dump truck hit me in the head, like a toy dump truck.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like that your son threw.
Elijah was a thrower.
Yeah.
And he was like a stick waver.
Right.
Remember, we had a friend that just thought that was like the funniest thing ever. If ever I was on a hike, I was going to get hit in the head with a stick. And it was, I'm not talking about little sticks. Like, he would be picking up big sticks and they would hit me in the head. And I'd be like, oh, that's morbid. I'm like, oh my gosh. Or like, our car gets thrown. A little toy car can actually hurt quite a bit.
This is a sign of any parent who's had a little, especially a little boy, I think.
But Elijah especially.
You learn, I can see parents who are a little more seasoned. They know how to keep their distance from their toddler. Like if they're on their lap, they don't get their face close to the back of their head.
How many times they
know they throw their head back and hit you in the face.
Oh, you're right.
Or when they're waving their arms around, they sort of keep that, like they have a little like bubble that they let their child work within.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they know that you're likely to get caught in the crossfire.
Well, you don't know that at first, and then when something hurts that bad, you feel such anger.
Well, it's just a natural response.
It is, and you're just like. And it's so I think that's the first few seasons of the garden.
These are the little things that
you learn. And you learned, okay, well, I obviously needed to water more, or I needed to water less, and things along those lines. And so if you think, then that's the problem sometimes is those are your first two kids and you think, I can't do this. I can't have any more kids.
Yeah.
Because I'm angry all the time. I'm overwhelmed all of the time.
That's what I told Megan with the first two. Like, we can't have any more, sweetheart.
He did say that. You did say that. Were you joking?
No, I know that I did.
I'm like, you said, I'm fine. I'm done. That's enough.
I'm good with two.
Each time. And I said, I can't even trust you because you literally say that every single time that you feel like we're done. Every single time. So I think that's one of the problems is if you, after your second year of gardening, think, my cucumbers got pests and something ate all the leaves off of my broccoli and like all of these things. And if you think that's how it's going to be always, you really might be inclined to not have any more children. Mm-hmm. But this is the thing. By season 3, you're starting to like, okay, I'm learning some things. Season 4 in the garden, season 5, you actually do get better at gardening.
Yeah.
Those fences actually will hold eventually. They will be high enough to keep the deer out because you've learned how high they need to be.
Yeah.
You've learned I know that over where I grew up it needed this much water, but in this spot I need this much water. And each year as you are amending the soil is getting better. There's more nutrients and your plants are doing better. And so we're going to kind of move around in this metaphor. Right now, you as a parent is what is growing each season, right? You are getting better and you are getting wiser. Therefore, the problems are not as often. And so that could be true after years of parenting, but it can also be true after the number of children you have. People who have had less say, like, I don't know how you do it. It's like, well, it actually does get easier because you've actually prepared a space, a garden, a soil that when they come in, it's not like the first few years of gardening. And now I have actually, in a lot of ways, extra gardeners in older children and things along those lines. So it does get easier.
Yeah.
And so if you're a young parent right now and you just feel like you're a mess, it's like, well, that's the beginning seasons. You are getting...
You're going to be in the shower with those two kids and you'll be crying and it's okay.
Yes,
right?
but I feel like for a while, it's not wasted though. It's not without purpose, because when you fix the fence is now fixed. When you learn more patience, you are now a more patient person. When you learn, I shouldn't have said yes to this thing, next time around you won't, and you will avoid the trouble that came from that. You get better at your job. And so when you're being kind of terrible at your job and you're learning all of these lessons, you think, I can't do this forever. I'm terrible at it. And you only compound the difficulty by the guilt.
Yeah.
And so I'm here to tell you, you're not doing it wrong. Every gardener has to figure out their own garden space and their own soil and their own plants and their own climate. But once you do, it gets a lot easier. It will get easier. It's such a joy to realize, hey, I've actually learned some things. I'm actually a lot better mom than I was. And of course you will be, as long as you keep moving forward, as you keep planting and you keep responding. And I think that's really brings me back to the story of my friend that was over a couple of weeks ago. And she was like, I don't know if I did it right. And it's like, listen, the fact that you were careful and prayerful and so concerned about, X, Y, and Z in your response to him, that it wasn't flippant. You knew that even though it was a small thing, it could grow into something big. I'm like, you're doing great, because it doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
The fact that you are watching and observing, like really carefully, at times when other parents might have been like, this is kids, it's not a big deal. It's like, no, you were recognizing this is small, but if I don't take care of it now, it will grow.
Yeah. So we should identify this is one of the qualities that makes a good gardener. It's also one of the qualities that makes a good parent, and it's being observant.
Yes.
So I think there's just a couple things that we need to focus on, which is being observant and then being the gardener, being in charge of your garden, and being willing to adjust and make changes based on what you're seeing.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think it would be absurd for a gardener to plant his plants and then come every day and be like, I don't know, I don't know what to do. I mean, that garden's going to struggle.
Yeah.
And so you do need to, in those first few years, be very proactive. And that's what I mean, where it's the hardest at first, because you have to gain skills. You have to read books. You have to seek counsel. You have to try things, because you're like, okay, the rabbits got through. So I went to the garden center and they told me about this thing and I tried it and it didn't work, but I tried it. And now I know that doesn't work. So I'm going to try something else. Yeah. And so that is a very, very important part of being a good gardener and being a good parent, is that you're proactively trying to learn and to grow and to improve, which means some things won't work, and that's okay. I think we get so worried about screwing up our kids because of this very toxic way that people talk about their parents now. Like, they pick them apart and say, like, my parents once said this and I'm still, it's like, who would ever want to become a parent after hearing these things? That is hard. And so I think actually that is kind of a strange thing that we're doing as a culture, but most people are more resilient than that. And most kids won't even remember the first few things you tried. They're just not that observant. We're not ever, ever, ever including abuse, or abusive methods here.
Behaviors, anything like that.
So leaving those things aside, if you're like, oh, I'm going to talk to him, or no, I'm going to send him to timeout, or no, I'm going to do, just try things. Learn from your mistakes. Watch and see what's happening. So that takes us to our next one. The gardener who doesn't garden, isn't proactive, is going to have an unsuccessful garden. Yeah. But the gardener who comes in and says, oh, okay, that's weird. The leaves on this plant are turning yellow.
Right.
Just slightly.
When they shouldn't be. Yeah.
Just slightly. versus the gardener who doesn't and acts right then, says doesn't need more water.
I'm gonna ask Chad about this one.
Is it getting enough sunlight? Does it have enough nutrients? Is there something going on? That's going to be a successful gardener versus one who's just like, oh, well, I guess maybe that plant has yellow leaves until the leaves get more and more yellow until the whole plant dies. Now, this is one of those times when the metaphor is not helpful. We're not talking about your kids dying.
But the farther along things get, the harder it can be to
reverse some of those issues.
Something.
And never impossible, and that's also where it's different than a garden. But I think you need to act early. And that's one of the things that maybe we have lost a little bit in parenting culture. In fact, I'm going to mention a book. I've mentioned it before here in season 1. This book is called The Collapse of Parenting. It is by Leonard Sax.
How do you spell the last name?
S-A-X.
Oh, there you
like
go.
saxophone.
Like the saxophone. Okay.
So good. Get this book because it is so clear. Not only does it address the first half of the book is talking about the problems, and you will recognize all of these problems. You're like, yes, yes, yes. Second half of the book is the remedy. This we read a decade ago, and it was awesome. Really good stuff. It was for us very confirming, very much like, yes, keep going.
Right.
And one of the things is that we have lost, it's called The Collapse of Parenting because we're all very uncomfortable with being in charge. We feel like that's wrong.
Well, because popular culture is trying to tell us that anyone who's in charge of anyone else that's an imbalance of power, and therefore it's bad. It's not good.
Yeah, and so we are uncomfortable taking out the lead and making decisions and guiding our children in very clear ways. Mm-hmm. And he'll kind of walk you through that and why that's not working. But I think as a gardener, it's the same thing. You're not going to ever say to your plants, hey, do you want to have yellow leaves? As a gardener that tomato plant should not have yellow leaves. And so you're not going to say to this tomato plant, you're a bad tomato plant. You're not going to say, I guess you want to have yellow leaves, tomato plant. You're going to say, oh, I can see something's off.
Right.
And I am going to start to try to find out what that is. Thankfully, with a child, a lot of the times you can ask them. You can say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I think if you're a gardener, there's kind of 5 things you're going to run through real quickly. Is it getting enough water? Is it getting too much water? Is it getting enough sunlight? Or is it getting too much sunlight? Is there too much heat? Is it getting the nutrients it needs from the soil? Are there pests, or a fungus, something that's coming from the outside and attacking this plant? Yeah, are there deer or a rabbit eating it? It's actually very quick, and that's going to cover pretty much everything that's going on in the garden. Mm-hmm. You're going to run through that list. And we should do the same with our kids. I think in not doing so, you're either claiming that you have no skills or ability or desire to help them, or 2, you just think they're bad. And that's just the way that they are.
Yeah, I think people can make the mistake of thinking their children came with certain qualities or traits that are unchangeable, and this is just the luck of the draw.
What your children came with is a very unfinished brain. One of the things I have learned from watching my oldest is now 24, is that they really don't have a finished brain till their 20s.
Mid-20s.
Yes, and they will change a lot during that time. And they will, which will be gratifying. And so that they really need your help through that time. They really don't, their brain is not done. They do not have the ability to think complex thoughts like you do until their mid-20s. That's crazy. And so they really need you to be the gardener. But back to if you're noticing something, noticing it early. So when the weeds are small, very easy to pull out of the soil. When the weeds grow large, they're difficult to pull out, especially without disturbing the roots of your other plants. Mm-hmm. They're going to choke out the nutrients and the water and the sunlight from your plants. And so sometimes you feel guilty pulling out small weeds, like you're being nitpicky. But actually, they're so easy to pull out.
Yeah.
One of the phrases we hear a lot in our culture is, you need to pick your battles.
Right.
And that's true that you need to pick your battles, but you actually might have a lot fewer battles if you're picking your conversations, picking your little guidelines and guidance and your little small, the very early things that you notice.
Right.
And so if we were to come up with that same list in a garden where they talk about sunshine and water and things, I think first thing you're going to say is, are they tired? Because they're not acting like themselves. Something is wrong. or the way they're responding to me is not appropriate. Are they tired? They're throwing a fit. Are they hungry? That absolutely happened with some of our kids. They were not eating enough. And as soon as we could get enough nutrients in them, they were able to, like literally one of our kids is prone to more anxious feelings, which leads them to not eat as much. And this was true when they were a toddler.
Yep.
And once we finally figured out, we have got to get some food in this kid. His behavior, I just said his, so now you can narrow it down. It's one of the boys. But they're 6, so good luck.
In this story.
Yes, he had a really hard time eating, but as soon as we got more nutrients into him, more food and calories into him, his ability to behave got a lot better. Because like, who can behave when you're starving?
Yeah,
your just body is not working. And so we really worked. Once we realized that connection, we really worked to make sure that he was getting enough food. So that's another thing. Are they getting enough food, or are they getting nutrients? Just like plants, you can't just give your plants anything and they'll do well, any soil type and any amount of water. It's actually, they need to have certain nutrients. So do humans.
Sure. Yeah.
Like we need nutrient dense foods for our brains and our bodies to function very well. And so you will actually, as a mother and as a father, need to make sure that your kids are getting nutrients. Now, I know I just stressed a bunch of you out because you're like, my toddler will only eat chicken nuggets and tortillas. I do think there is a resilience in younger kids, but as they get older, you're going to maybe have to be creative. They don't need to eat like spinach. I'm not saying they need to eat spinach, but you might find that's one of those things you turn to, or they might need to have more nutrients in their diet than they're getting. So that's the first 2 things: food and sleep. Are they getting enough? Third, I for us would be, is there some sort of pest? Is there something outside of themselves that is affecting their behavior?
Yeah, how they're acting or how they're thinking even. Something on the internet,
something at school, a friend.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of friendship going on that is either adding a lot of stress and emotion to their life so that like they're changing? Is there something that's happened that they're having a hard time processing, and so maybe they're withdrawing from you in ways that they haven't before and kind of suddenly. And you're like, hey, what's going on? Is there something in their life that they're having a really hard time processing and a hard time carrying? And so their natural response is just to shut you out. So you're going to start noticing these things when they're small. Like, why do you suddenly get so mad when I suggest this thing?
Right.
That's not like you.
Fill in the blank.
Like, why are your leaves yellow? Why are you wilted? It's not, you don't say to a tomato plant, I guess I got a wilted tomato plant. You recognize there's something going on outside of this plant that I might need to switch up.
Right.
You have good children. So in that, it could be their brains are not fully developed. It could be that they're tired or hungry. Or it could be that like, this is interesting. I just remembered. When Elijah was about 10, I had thrifted the series of unfortunate events.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Do you remember this?
I do.
And he was a voracious reader. And we lived out in the country. Didn't have much else to do. These were the days where like out in the country, you had like the slowest internet ever.
Couldn't watch anything.
Couldn't do anything like that. Yeah, it was great. But so he would read anything and everything. And I happened to come upon these. And so I had like the whole set. And he started reading them. And he started getting really moody.
Yeah, he did.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is up with you? Like, you're a sweet, happy kid, and suddenly you are really moody. And I just couldn't figure it out until I said, hold on. He had mentioned reading these books, and I was like, I think those books are affecting you. I think they're very dark.
Which they are.
They are very dark.
Even though they're children's books.
Yeah, they're kind of, and I didn't know. I was a young mom. I don't think these days I would suggest to my 10-year-old to read a series of unfortunate events, but I was a young mom and I didn't know, and I didn't think about how he might be affected by that. But I learned, this is like the rabbits just got in through my fence. I learned that this book was pretty heavy and was affecting him, and he was very moody. And I was like, hey, I know that you're enjoying these books, but they're a little heavy for you. I feel like they're affecting your behavior, and I want you to stop reading them. And he did. And we got our old Elijah back. Yeah,
it was kind of crazy how quick it went.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick on Elijah here because a little while later, he started, because we had decided to put our kids into public school ended up being about a year and a half. Do you remember how like overnight he changed?
Yes, because he went to middle school.
He went to middle school. And suddenly, like, he was so self-conscious because this is his first time entering into the, like, world of...
the social hierarchy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And so, like, he was suddenly very self-conscious of our car, of the music we would listen to when we weren't even, like, nobody was around. And so it was like, oh, my goodness, this is heavy for him. Remember, he wouldn't even want us to drop him off up by where everybody else was, just in case we might taint his reputation.
Whatever that was, but...
And we absolutely would have, because we're not cool. So those are little things that are outside of your child. And your job as the gardener is to, something's going on. Let's figure it out. What are some other things? We said sleep, food, something outside of them.
Which I think can also be just the what's the word, situation or the circumstances. So we talked about this before, you and I, that even with little kids, like you go into the store and the kid has a meltdown, in the store. It's like, we can't allow this, or this isn't good. And so what led to that? Thinking about the situation, and maybe it's just before we go in, we're going to set expectations as far as if I'm going to buy you something, if I'm not going to buy you something, what's acceptable behavior and what isn't, and what will happen if your behavior is unacceptable. Can really, like, so just looking at the actual circumstances of the situation you're in and saying, okay, something led to this. How do we change how we got to this point? Is another way of kind of observing what's going on.
Yeah, so. And I think sometimes I do want to add a caveat, because I know that sometimes we don't notice when it's small. You know, you're just like, I don't know, that's kind of weird, Or you explain it on something else, We've absolutely had this happen. Or
you blame it on something else?
Yes. Yeah. Until it gets larger. And then you're like, no, something's really taken root, and this is not healthy. And I know that, like a garden, there can be many, 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 many things you try, and you're still struggling. First of all, it's not only one season when it comes to parenting. You do get year after year of chances, and your fear is, if I don't figure it out by the time they're 9, then I never get to figure it out, or by the time they're 15. Kids have this wild way of completely changing, even all the way till they're 18, 19.
Yeah, like, it's kind of amazing.
Like a year later, they're a completely different person.
Or they can turn on a dime on any given, like, subject or something that they were concerned about, suddenly they're not, or that you were struggling with it, now they're not.
It's a gift. Grateful. And I think that is in part because of their unfinished brain. But I do know that there have been times with our kids where they have had puzzles they've given us of where we could see they really needed effective parenting, and we had no idea. We were out of ideas.
Right.
We'd mended the fences. We'd put nutrients into the soil. And so I think there's some of you out there who are like, I would love to know what to do. Right. I would do it in a heartbeat. I've tried everything and it doesn't seem to be working. And we get emails from some of you. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that I have no idea what you need to do. And I don't mean that sarcastically or harshly. I mean, I think that is the burden and the joy of your personal journey with your family. But I also do know that we have been in those same situations. Some of those things are also the burden and the joy of your children, that maybe it's not something you guys get to figure out together. That's something that they need to figure out for themselves.
Right.
But also, I think a lot of the times, as you prayerfully consider and you ponder and you try and you try and you try, you will actually find solutions. They will come to you. Maybe it will be a book that comes into your world. Maybe it will be a mentor that comes into your world. Maybe it will be a thought. Maybe it will, I don't know. And maybe it will be all of the above. But I do, and maybe we think, this one thing will be what solves all my plants' problems in the garden. But maybe there's actually about 10 things that plant in the garden needed
Yep.
to be as healthy as you want it to be. And so don't give up if you do something and it slightly changes, but not completely. There's unfinished brains at work. There's a world outside of you and your child at work. And there are times and seasons in the garden where things just don't grow as
Right.
well as you want them to. So I don't want you to beat yourself up, but I also don't want you to give up. I think if you can notice early, and the solutions will be easier and the situations will be less complex. But some things grow outside of or grow quickly, or you don't realize it
happening. Yeah.
And we've been there too. And I think I'm happy to report that a lot of those things will resolve themselves as you continue to prayerfully try. So, and reason when I said I don't know what you should do, but I do know that the Lord knows what you should do, and will guide you, and that will be a very sweet experience for you. Nothing feels. I feel such gratitude when I call one of my kids, I text one of my kids, I say something to one of my kids, and then they tell me, I don't think you know how much I needed that at that moment.
Yeah.
And that was like a really big deal for me because I was really struggling about that very thing. And I don't think you know. And I feel such gratitude because I'm like, yeah, it did just kind of pop into my head that I should text them. And I'm not like thinking that they're in some sort of danger and I need to text them for that reason. I just think, oh, I just want to text them, or I want to call them, or I found this quote. I wanted to send it to you because I thought you'd find it interesting. I feel such immense gratitude when it comes to find out that feels like I was led to do that by God because it was exactly what they needed in that moment. And I've said it, we said it just a couple podcasts ago, the Lord loves families and he wants to help moms and dads with his children, and he will. And I'm not saying that the problems are always simple, like a simple weed to pull, but I am saying that there is always something that you can do to help. Yeah. And he will tell you what that is. Maybe he will lead you to a TikTok video, and I hope that this helps.
Right.
But ultimately, as you pray about everything that you're doing, you will be able to discern what is best for your garden and what you should try. You will feel led, and that is such an important thing to have when we have so much information out there. And it's so hard to know what voice to listen to. But I think as you ground yourself in truth and in his guidance, you will find a lot of blessings and a lot of solutions.
But also it also does mean that as a gardener, you know, your hands get dirty, right? You are in there actively working and you're actively affecting change in that environment. And we said it before, but I guess this is Dad's going to come out, that you are in charge of the garden. You are the driving force of this whole little ecosystem you've got going on. And so, because if you feel prompted to solve a problem in a certain way, or and I think also we all have natural instincts too. You are the parent. I think you have natural instincts about what is good for your child. It doesn't mean that when you institute that change, that your child is going to gladly accept your guidance and help. They will not, because they won't
because
understand.
They're a child.
Yeah, they don't understand. But you are the one in charge. You are the one who knows where you're trying to get to. And while you may not be completely confident that you're doing the right thing, you're the one who needs to be making the changes. This is not, we don't parent by committee. And we don't parent by a vote with the family and that sort of thing.
Because your tomato plant would love to grow on the ground.
Oh, yeah. If
but
you just
say,
let
no,
it,
we're not going
will.
to do that because I know, when you put a tomato on the plant in the ground, it doesn't like that you cut off all of its lower branches. Mm-hmm. But if you don't do that, you're more likely to get mildew, which will eventually kill the plant. So you cut those branches off.
Well, and you make it go up, it goes up the cage, right?
You put a cage around it. And it might say, why are you caging me in? Why are you doing that to me?
Yeah, if the tomato could talk to you.
Yes, and you say, because I know that you need this structure to grow against.
Right. And so this is kind of in the class of parenting, is that people have ceded their authority to their children because they're either afraid, I think, to act. They don't know what to do. And so they're just like, well, what do you want to do, child? Maybe you can figure this out. or they outsource it to other places.
And just because something's natural doesn't mean it knows how to grow. You really, in a garden, if you just say like, well, I figure the tomato knows what it's doing, I'll let it be natural.
Yeah,
It's
let
a natural
nature take
plant.
over. Yeah.
It actually does need a gardener. If you've ever grown tomato plants, you've known how many problems
Well, any number of
they can have, where suddenly they have the little aphids all over them, or they have a fungus all over them, or they have a million other things going on. They need a gardener.
yeah.
They need a tomato cage. They need some diatomaceous earth sprinkled around them. They need some things that outside of themselves to help them grow.
Yeah.
Yes. If you threw a bunch of tomato plants just out in a field, would some of them grow? Yes. But most would not.
We like tomatoes, by the way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have grown tomato plants and struggle with tomato plants. That's why I mention it. But we have this new idea that children just know how to grow into adults. That's a new idea. That's an absolutely new idea. And I don't think it's a very loving idea. A child doesn't know, so they kind of think that they probably do know how to grow
Right.
into adults. And when I say a child, I'm even talking about a 17-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy thing is that we believe that our child knows how to grow, but when you add 20 years to their life, they no longer know how.
Right.
Because now I'm 20 years older, shouldn't I actually know even more? Because I already did the child thing, and now I've had 20 years of experience and watching other things and seeing what other people are doing and listening to other ideas. I actually probably know even more than that child, don't I? But we have this weird new curve we do where like we think like the pinnacle of greatness and knowledge is in the teen years or something, and then it just starts to drop off until, once you're 50, you're really dumb.
Right.
Which is wild.
No, that's completely wrong.
It's wild. It's like, well, of course I'm going to know more in 10 years than I know now. Of course.
Yeah.
And I will sometimes say that to my teenagers. I'm like, you feel kind of confused by this because you feel like you understand this. Do you feel like you'll understand this even better in 10 years? And what about 10 years after that? I'm like, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, that's where I'm at, buddy. Okay.
Welcome to
so
my world.
you feel like probably will know more about life and how to live it in 20 years. Of course you will. Well, parents.
You're going to benefit from my knowledge.
Welcome to parents. Or even 30 years. That's, probably the more average age difference between parents and kids.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to,
And if you're having a problem with that, read this book.
Read The Collapse of Parenting. It will give you
Parenting.
some confidence there. But like Megan said before, the earlier you institute that structure and also play that role as the gardener, the easier it is to continue doing that.
Oh,
because a young sapling is way easier to direct in its growth than a tree that's got a 6-inch radius or whatever.
Well, has anybody gotten a tomato plant and really dragged their heels about? Is that the right? I always get those.
Yeah,
wrong.
drag your heels.
Yeah, about getting tomato plants, and you're like, I know, I gotta get some cages. I gotta get some tomato cages.
Yeah, and you don't do it.
When you planted it and you have this little tomato plant, you throw the cage over it, done. But when you have this big leafy tomato plant and you're like trying to, and I've done this multiple times, you're like wrestling this like tomato cage out and trying not to break in the branches, and you're like trying to fit them through all of those things. It can be done because that's usually what I end up doing. But so I'm not telling you like, I don't want anybody to feel like it's too late. We have parented children starting at 14 years old, so I know that it's not too late.
Because we've adopted children at an
know
older
that
age.
It's not too late, but it is easier when it's a small tomato plant, right? So it's easier when they're younger, and it's easier when the problems are a brand new problem, when the challenges are brand new, when when they need more sleep or when they need more nutrients. That's the best time to hit it, rather than after a long, long time.
Yeah.
When it's more of a whisper rather than a shout. It's easier.
It is easier. But if it comes down to it, you as the parent, as the gardener, have all the control over this garden. Don't forget that.
And what a blessing that is to your garden.
Because I will say this, especially teenagers, they're pretty good at convincing. They're pretty good at, I don't want to use the word manipulating, but they have a knack for convincing you that you're the wrong one and that you're hurting them or that you're causing them some sort of pain. But this is not true. Mm-hmm. And even if you are causing them pain, this is a temporary pain, which is actually for their good. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm talking about I'm not talking physical pain here. I'm talking about you're taking away privileges, your things that they don't like, in order to enforce something or in order to guide them. We are not passive parents. We don't recommend passive parenting because that creates children that won't reach their full potential. It's really for their benefit.
Yeah, I think it would...
by not taking that control, all you're doing is you're saying, I'd rather not deal with that. I'm going to let you deal with that, teenager, and they'll be dealing with that for years to come. And so you're passing the buck onto them. And so we've got to remain in control until that child leaves my home and is providing for themselves. I'm in control. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, and so teenagers, like you said, are especially good at making you feel bad about pruning them.
Sure, yeah.
But you are pruning them because you know in so doing they will bear better and healthier fruit.
Right.
You know, like on an apple tree, for instance, if you don't prune the branches, there's not enough airflow through there, and you're going to have problems with the health of the fruit and the ability to grow. And so a teenager will say, how dare you cut me down? Like, you are so controlling. Or I don't know anybody else's parents who are doing this, or a million other things. And it's very convincing because it is uncomfortable, especially in a world that tells you that you shouldn't be doing that, right? That it's wrong to do that. And so it's very, very uncomfortable to do that. But you, like Mike said, you need to remember that you are the gardener, that you know what you're doing, and that they need you because you have decades of knowledge and experience that they don't have. Wild to say, hey, brand new human who's never experienced anything, who hasn't watched or read or talked or thought about anything, what do you think? I'm sure they'll offer you a response, but it kind of reminds me when I went to college as a freshman, I was studying film at BYU, and we would watch these films, heartbreaking, dense, heavy films. And they would say, what do you think that the filmmaker was trying to say? And I'm literally a teenager.
Right.
And I'm like, that I had no idea what to say. And now that I'm like a 46-year-old woman, I would have all sorts of an understanding. And I understand they were trying to teach me how to think.
Yeah.
That's different when it's an 18-year-old and an 8-year-old, right? Or a 5-year-old. They don't know those things yet. It is your job. And I think another reason that sometimes we don't do it is because we want to feel nice. And when we are stern with our children, when we are firm with our children, when we have to prune them for their growth, we sure can feel ugly.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it once again. I'm not talking about abusing your children or being incredibly harsh with your children, but I'm saying even when you're like, hey, you're done with screens for today, your children can really act like you're a horrible, horrible witch of a person. And you can say like, man, am I? But I think you have the choice, and you can preserve your own feelings, your own self-esteem of feeling like, I'm a nice person. My kids know I'm a nice mom and I never get mad at them. But that's really actually quite selfish because they need you to prune them. They need you and your knowledge to guide them and protect them. If you're like, I'm not going to put any fences around them, that's mean. It's like the fence was to protect them.
Right.
The fence was while they were young and tender plants, they needed your protection. And because you didn't want to feel controlling and you didn't want to feel mean and you didn't want that feedback from them, you didn't protect them. And so you need to make sure that, like, sometimes as a parent, your children will reflect back to you that they think you're bad or ugly or controlling or all of those things. And you need to say, I know that you see it that way, but since I'm older and I'm wiser and I love you endlessly, I am willing for you to think that while I protect you. Because
they won't think that forever.
Nope, they won't.
In fact, it's amazing how quickly kids turn on a dime. So those emotions are just that. They're emotions, and they pass.
Now, something I do think that can actually hinder that process is if you don't explain to them why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
I'm not explaining it to you so I ask your permission to put up the fence around you. But I think it's really important that parents don't realize that their children might actually be very confused about what's happening.
Sure, yeah.
And so when you say, hey, you're done for screens today, and they're like, oh, no, I was right in the middle of this, please, just this or that. And you could say, listen, I know you want to keep watching it, but it's actually really important that you don't because of this. My job is to make sure that this happens. And so right now when I'm taking away your screen, I'm not actually doing it to be mean. I'm doing it to protect you. I'm doing it to be nice to you. Or when I'm taking away your phone, it's because I have noticed these certain behaviors. And it's my job to help you develop into a healthy adult. And so I need to make sure that I'm doing my job. And I know you don't like it, but I also know that I need to do this. And so I don't think enough times we realize how much we should be explaining to our children why we're doing what we're doing. Remember, like I said, it's not to ask their permission, but it is to teach them and to control the narrative.
Right.
Because a teenager can be like, my parents are so controlling and think all sorts of things. It's like, let me be very clear with you. I have these rules. Let me tell you why I have these rules. Because I have learned by experience that when I do this, this happens. When I don't do this, this happens. And so I have decided that for the health of you or our home or our family, we're going to do these things. That helps them, even if they're still angry, to know at least what your reasoning is behind it. And kids need that. They need you to explain to them so that they, even in the moment when they're angry, at least know that it wasn't just some weird controlling abstract thing you did, because they're not smart enough to know. Mm-hmm. And so, I will hear my kids say, oh, their mom's doing this and they're so mad that she's doing this and they don't know why she's doing it. And I'm thinking in my mind, I can probably guess why she's doing that. Mm-hmm. But how much more helpful is it to tell them why you're doing it? Also, because you're hopefully training them to become parents themselves.
Yeah.
And so you're teaching them what a parent does, how they think and how they operate. And so even though if they don't like it in that moment, they can say, well, I remember when my mom told me that this is why she was doing it. And they remember the thought process out loud, the skills. So I would absolutely recommend that every time you are trying to guide your children, you're trying to put up fences or tomato cages or you're plucking weeds, that you're telling them. Mm-hmm. You're telling them why you're doing it and you're expressing your love to them as you're doing it. Like, I love you, and because I love you, you need to take a break from ...
I'm going to do this for you.
Or I'm not going to buy this food anymore, or I'm not going to let you do this or hang out with this group anymore. And you're going to share your wisdom too. And you're going to point out things that they hadn't ever considered before. We've had kids that were in friend relationships that we could see were really unhealthy. And to the point where we're like, I really think you need to take a step back from this relationship because I'm noticing these red flags. But actually pointing out to them, I have a few stories. I have a few experiences that I can relate this to and teach you, like maybe mom and dad have some experience in this arena that you don't have yet. That is so helpful for them. So they don't just feel like thrown around, controlled, confused. They have an intellectual buy-in to the gardening processes that you're putting into place.
And they may not happen immediately, but it will happen eventually. And they'll come around to it. So I think you can't be too afraid of some of those emotions that are going to come through. And like you said, explain it. And I will say this too, and we referenced this in I think the last podcast we did, but there are a lot of voices out there that are trying to get you to not parent or proactively parent for any, in every number of ways. But just like we said with the house of bricks versus sticks with the big bad wolf in a previous episode. And I'm not going to say all the voices this way, but I do feel like some voices out there that are trying to tell you not to take the proactive role as a parent.
To build a house of bricks.
To build a house of bricks may be the wolves that are hoping to gain your children. And so I immediately distrust any source that's telling me to step back as a parent and either let the kids do it or let someone else do it. My bells start ringing in my head.
It's like, slow down.
Yeah.
Think about this very carefully.
Right. So be very wary of those voices, and I would not give them a whole lot of status in your mind. Just say, well, I don't know why they're saying that, but I don't trust that. I know that's not going to work. So be aware of that.
I think also anybody, if you go back to the gardening metaphor, if somebody's giving you gardening advice, number one thing you should do is check out their garden.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
If somebody's telling you what you should do and not do, and that they know, like, well, let me see your garden. How well has it grown? Mm-hmm. Do you have a healthy garden? I remember watching somebody online saying, anybody that's going to give me parenting advice needs to have at least this many children for this many years, and they need to have this sorts of outcomes. And that's actually really important.
Yeah.
You should be very careful that the people who are giving you advice on your children actually know what they're talking about. And they prove it through their experiences, not through their credentials, because you could come up with all sorts of ideas.
All sorts of theories.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, I mentioned this book, but I'll tell you what. One of the things that I'm gratified to know as a 46-year-old is I've read enough gimmicky books to know that most ideas are just trying to sell books. And in fact, especially when it's like, you thought this normal thing and you know, common sense told you this, but you're completely wrong. And if you want to know why, you should buy my book. Like, that should, now for me, sends off red flags. But as a parent, you should very jealously guard who is coming over when you're building your brick house and telling you, now I know you think a brick house is better, but it's interesting new research proves that a stick house is better. And actually how brick houses maybe don't have great ventilation, so you need a stick house for your kids' health.
Right.
In fact, I saw an article just today or yesterday. It was like, why vitamins actually might be really bad for you. And I was like, really?
Who
and it was like,
paid for this?
yeah, I know. There was like a bunch of them. I'm like, okay, these are all showing up the same week. Somebody's got a reason for us to suddenly hit the news wire with a bunch of anti-vitamin stories. And I actually went to one of them that actually said, these vitamins, like you might not realize these vitamins are actually hurting you. I'm like, well, let's hear what these vitamins. And it was like paragraph after paragraph, never said anything. And I'm like, is the article over? Oh, it's already over. Didn't even say anything. But it was like, actually, some vitamins, if you take too much of them, might hurt you, like your liver or your kidneys. I'm like, okay, well, which ones and how much? Also, some doctors say that people rely too heavily on vitamins. I'm like, wait, you didn't say which ones and how much. Like, this article, its only point was to make me feel
It's a hit job on vitamins.
that I don't know. I'm scared. Maybe I'm taking too much of one of these vitamins. But I don't know. It never said. It's just to make you feel uncomfortable with the brick house. Like, did you know that some people with brick houses are unhappy? I'm just saying. Some people with stick houses are happy. I'm just saying. And you're like, oh no. Because like I said, one of our biggest fears is that because we love our kids, that we'll break them, we'll ruin them. Well, don't buy it, okay? Obviously, a brick house is better at protecting your kids from a wolf. It is. It can't be blown over. So when somebody comes and there's new research or new ideas that fly in the face of everything you've felt as a parent and everything you've seen that has worked for the parents around you and your parents and your grandparents, slow down. Slow down. I'm not saying new ideas can't be surprising. I'm just saying you should trust your gut and slow down and be very careful and very prayerful about these new theories and new ideas. And also, they probably just want you to buy their book.
Right.
And also, so many of these people don't even do the things they say in their book. It's just a gimmick. It's just a gimmick.
So be the gardener. And I think using that as sort of your framework can help you, hopefully, to move forward in your parenting and have just sort of an idea of how to move forward. Because like Megan said, everyone's situation is different. We can't address every possible, scenario you might find yourself in. But if you can kind of go forward with, I'm going to be observant, and then I'm also going to be the gardener. I'm going to make changes. I'm going to try stuff to help my garden grow. That's about as simple as it gets. And I think you can move forward with that and affect some change with your children and your family, and all for the good as you move forward and also as you learn doing it. And
happily, after years of doing that, you're going to become quite a good gardener. Mike's dad is a master gardener. He got it to the point where his soil had been so amended that when they moved out of their house, Mike's brother came over and took bags of it, right?
Yeah, my brother, he harvested the dirt out of Dad's garden because he called it, I think he called it magic dirt or magic soil, because anything would grow in it. Because my dad had done such a great job of just what do you call it?
Amending it
and putting nutrients into it. And so he took off the top foot of soil before they sold before
they listed the house,
and he put it in his backyard so he could grow tomatoes in it, because my dad loves tomatoes. So That's
you
the
will
thing.
get there.
Yeah.
You will get there.
And-
The first
and-
few seasons are the hardest, but you will get to the point where anything will grow in that soil, and it will be such a joy to participate in it and to see the fruits of that, and to watch your children laden with fruit. And what a gratifying process that can be, and what a joy it will be. Nothing compensates like success at home with your family. Nothing. So I want you to be happy. I want you to look forward to it.
Well, and like my brother taking that soil, then your children will
You're
turn
right.
around and do the same thing for their family. And the joy in seeing your posterity do that. Even
You will
though
have
that,
a legacy.
Yeah, that may be far down the road for most listening, but that's there. And it's a reality that then your children can have happy families, and it can just fan out from you. So that's a beautiful thing.
It feels so hopeless so often, and it feels so confusing and dark, but it isn't. As you are the gardener, like Mike said, as you put the nutrients into the soil and you are careful and considerate and you are proactive, so much joy will come, and like you will have a legacy. It will continue to grow.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming along, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all of your kind comments. We won't worry too much about those. Thank you for letting us live our dream. And until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.